you're familiar with this sound. Most of you probably heard it. It may bring back memories of music class or music lessons. Did you enjoy playing scales? Probably not. Or maybe you didn't mind them, but you didn't see them as fun. Does this still sound like a scale to you? Did you ever think of taking a scale and rearranging it and turning it into your own idea? Probably not. A scale is a system much like the alphabet. Let's see what happens when I take this scale, improvise with it by rearranging it and changing the order over this loop I've created. Now the scale takes on a life of its own. It's no longer notes up and down in a succession, but rather it's a tool for making music. My name is Leslie DeShazor, and I am a freelance musician and educator. I have the privilege of teaching young minds all over the Metro Detroit area, or rather, I have the privilege of being taught by smart, energetic, young, beautiful minds all over the Metro Detroit area. And what you've just heard is one of the many ways I use scales to help students better access this thing we call music. Music should be fun, creative, and innovative, but unfortunately we've fallen into teaching it with the same abstractness and inaccessibility with which we teach so many other subjects. I'm working to change that. I want to emphasize and bring out the symbiotic nature of the student-teacher relationship. Create an environment where learning new things together is fun, where we can make music and nurture relationships and teach the whole person. In my many years of teaching, I've learned more lessons than a student could ever dream of. And in that, I'm seeing the need more and more to throw away convention, think outside of the box, and be flexible. Because most of the students I teach have no desire to become professional musicians. They just want to have fun and see what it's like to play. Fully understanding this has given me freedom. Freedom to take the pressure from the student and the pressure from myself. Focus on a holistic experience, one that will give both student and teacher a lifetime of experiences that have yet to show their lasting impact. I teach and perform a lot. And with that, I'm constantly evolving. However, one thing that never changes is the joy and the beauty that music brings to the world. Music is so powerful that often the reason a person wants in is because they've heard a beautiful melody or a great musician, and they say to themselves, I want to play that, or I want to sing that. And then they get the instrument in their hand for the first time, and it sounds like this. There's nothing more hilarious and rewarding than the look on a student's face when they play an instrument for the first time. Sometimes they're thrilled by the sound under their nose, and sometimes they look like they smelled the most awful thing known to man. Nevertheless, they have something they want to learn, and I'm here to teach them. Meet Felix. Felix is currently working on the blues, creating patterns on the blues scale, the theme song from Plants vs. Zombies, and a gavotte from Suzuki Book 2. He's 8 years old. When I asked him last year what he'd like to learn next, he said, a blues. And I said, great. But I was faced with a challenge in that moment. There are not many blues that are conducive to a young violin player that would be technically appropriate and also offer him some new challenges. So I wrote one for him, and I called it Blues for Felix. He loved it. And from that, he learned his A minor pentatonic, his A blues scale, 12-bar blues form, and he's currently learning how to improvise over the blues. Improvisation is something that we typically think of in a jazz context, or more specifically for students of a certain level of proficiency, and typically not for violins. I, however, believe that it is extremely vital to the development of all musicians of all genres to learn this skill and therefore introduce it to beginners like these. When this video was taken, these were first-year students. And what I love most about this video is that these students are doing something that is generally unheard of and would clear a room of professional classical musicians. But why is that? It's because of an education with too much emphasis on imitation and perfection and not enough emphasis on creativity. Children are naturally creative, but over time and years being told wrong, 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 they start to doubt themselves. Additionally, in my opinion, we measure and pressure students too much. Sometimes students are in a difficult place in life and could use a slower pace or a change in direction. There's always room for growth and always something to learn, and this can be achieved in a less rigorous time-pressured environment. I have a student who was accepted into a very competitive school last year. She would frequently show up to her lessons very frustrated before she even played a note. The student was stressed, and her lessons just represented one more thing to be stressed out about. I didn't want her to quit, so we restructured her lessons. I gave her one solo piece to work on, and the rest of the time we spend doing things she wants to learn. Just the other day, she was so swamped with schoolwork she had not had time to prepare for her lesson. No sweat. So I made a loop, like the one you heard in the beginning. It went from A major to A minor. We discussed the parallels between major and minor, reviewed her minor and major triads, and we improvised on those sounds. It was definitely time well spent. Overall, the student is enjoying the ability to decompress in her lessons and expand her overall knowledge of music. She's thriving and getting some much-needed time for exploration and expression. In my opinion, this journey can be long, and there's no reason to rush students into learning things that they are legitimately not ready for. Knowledge is best acquired through true desire. Or knowledge can be acquired through good old-fashioned fun in playing songs that you've heard on the radio. This was an interesting adventure. Many people would look at this video and think that there wasn't much learning involved. However, to get these students to play the syncopated rhythms of a pop tune, fit into a groove, and play with the lyricism of a singer required a great deal of preparation. I had to write all of the words on the board and create a color-coded system to help them know which fingers went on every string. These students, frequently I ask them if they'd like to learn something as a class, and as long as it's age appropriate and I can adapt it to beginning violin, we make it happen. I do this for two reasons. One is because it's just fun, but the other reason is because I want them to see that the violin is just not for classical music. I try as much as I can to create an environment where we learn in many different ways. Students become better violinists when they're developing skills that may seem irrelevant to violin playing. Like when we do eurythmic-inspired movement or multi-rhythmic patterns on the body, they improve coordination and right and left side independence. When we sing what we play or sing and play, they develop better pitch recognition and ability to phrase. When we do call and response or rote learning, they develop their ears and become better ensemble players. Being a musician requires a high level of intuition and sensitivity to one's surroundings, which we can all agree is a skill we can take to other social situations. But please don't misunderstand me. I do value tradition and I do value convention in some regard. I also have a high level of expectation for students and expect them to rise to it whenever possible. However, I'm not caught up in the must-dos and the have-tos when it comes to learning something as diverse as music. And also, I want students to see that it is okay to choose the unpopular thing. I'd like to leave you with this. Most of us will teach someone something in our lifetime. And in that, we will learn from those who we teach. Be open, be creative, and stay humble, because we never know the true impact of the knowledge that we impart upon others. Teaching is an opportunity to learn. It is a mutual understanding between teacher and student that there will be a significant exchange of our shared human experience. The possibilities are endless. In all that I do, I endeavor most to give students something new to wonder, provocative to ponder, and a whole lot of laughter and fun.